Hey, everybody, welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, volleyball player Natalie Glenn joins the show. While in high school in Texas, she was a two-time 6A All-State player and was named an All-American as well. At Long Beach State, Natalie was named second team All-Big West as a junior, and she led the team in kills as a senior. And in February of 2025, Natalie was awarded the Cal Hope Courage Award, which honors student athletes who've overcome adversity and trauma in their lives. Her father, Terry Glenn, led the nation in receiving touchdowns as a junior at Ohio State, was named NFL Rookie of the Year in 1996 by the UPI, and had over 1,000 receiving yards in 4 different seasons. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
Not too bad. Thank you for doing this. And how's life in California right now? I hope it's sunny.
It is. It's nice and warm and the sun is shining. It's kind of drizzling last couple of days, but today it's a beautiful day.
Were you impacted at all by any of the recent wildfires out there?
No, I wasn't. That was more northern Los Angeles up by UCLA and USC and Malibu.
Being in California, I'm a little jealous because I love the beach. Do you ever take advantage of the opportunity and go out to the beach for a day?
I do actually. My indoor teammate, she is from Long Beach originally, and her grandma has a small little house that she's letting her and I stay in, and it is a street away from the beach. So I am very lucky in my situation out here.
Got an extra cot for one more person?
Actually, I do. I do have a couch that turns into a bed.
Don't tempt me, I'll be on the next plane. How did you make it up to Long Beach?
So my story is a long and hard one. I originally committed to Minnesota my sophomore year of high school, I think. So I was 15, turning 16 at the time, very young. And I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought indoor was my end all be all kind of thing. Like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to go pro and do all this stuff. And then I get to Minnesota and I figure out this is not where I want to be. The coaching staff was great. The volleyball program at the time was top 10 in the country. So that's obviously a place you want to go. But just the state of Minnesota and being away from my family at that young of an age, not being by the beach or somewhere where it's sunny, really affected my mental health. And I lost my love for the game. And that really took a toll on me mentally. And I decided to put myself first and enter the transfer portal. When I entered the transfer portal from Minnesota originally, I only wanted to play beach. I had no desire to play indoor at all. But Tyler Hildebrand, he was the assistant coach at Nebraska during my recruiting process when I was younger. He had tried to get me to come to Nebraska, but I am undersized, and John Cook didn't want an undersized hitter. So fast forward back to whenever I'm in the portal at Minnesota. He has become the head coach at Long Beach State, and he remembers me, and he's like, "Oh my God, Natalie, like, do you remember me? I was trying to recruit you at Nebraska, blah, blah, all this stuff." And I was telling him, I was like, I don't know, like, I don't really want to play indoor again. I'm kind of just over it, and I want to play beach. And he was telling me that if I were to go to Long Beach, he would allow me to play on the beach team, like, no extra cost. In the fall, I'm on the indoor team. Everything is indoor, 100% committed to the team. And then in the spring, he will let me go, and I'm a beach player. I don't have to check in with the indoor team. I'm beach through and through. And so when he made that proposal, and after I met the head beach coach, Mike Campbell. I was like, yeah, like, why would I not come here? I get a scholarship and I still get to play beach. And Tyler's main goal for me was to fall in love with volleyball again, which I can say that I have. And my years at Long Beach have really helped me grow my love for the game, share it with my teammates. I've become a better person. I've grown a lot as a person, and I've met some amazing people here. So I am just very thankful for my long but great journey in the college experience.
In your recruiting process, what initially made Minnesota, aside from being a top 10 program at the time, the ideal place for you? Because as you said, you committed pretty young.
I remember rushing to make a decision because I kind of felt a little pressure, not from anybody that I know. It was just, I was on the top team in the nation at the time, and all my teammates were committing. So I felt this pressure to also commit to somewhere at a young age. And it was kind of like this thing, the younger you are when you commit, the better you are. That's why I'm so happy that they made the rule that you can't talk to college coaches until the summer of your junior year, because I have younger siblings who also play volleyball, and I wish that rule was a thing whenever I was younger. So I was able to really reflect on what I want and not just assume all this stuff. But Minnesota was just very appealing to a young girl who wanted to play Division I volleyball, top program, Power 5 school. They're in the Big Ten, which is the best conference for volleyball. And I don't know, it's just the University of Minnesota.
What was the weather like for you there? Because you're going from blazes hot Texas to freezing cold Minnesota.
The cold wasn't necessarily something new for me because my mom is from New York and we go up there every Christmas, so it's always snowing or at least cold up there. But the amount of snow and for how long it snowed was definitely something very new for me. And I honestly didn't think the summers were going to be as hot as they were. I thought it was going to be kind of more like a California summer, like that 60, 70 summer. So that was definitely a big shock to me.
Taking a step back here, how did your interest in volleyball initially get started?
My mom, she played collegiate volleyball at Bryant University. And for as long as I can remember, she's always either played rec volleyball at our local rec center in a women's league, or she has friends from all these different places that somehow ended up in Texas. And they either have beach volleyball courts in their backyard or they own a place that has beach volleyball courts. So she would always take us after school because she couldn't leave us home alone. She would take all four of me and my siblings, and we would all go to beach courts and just watch her play while we play in the sand or run around in the grass. And that's kind of where my love for volleyball started. And she never forced us to play, even though she played. It was always kind of like, if you want to play, then you can play and I'll help you and I will encourage you, but it's never, oh, I played volleyball, so you have to play volleyball. And I remember her teaching us all these different skills, just like in our living room. I would go up against the wall and work on my platform so I wasn't able to move, and I had to figure a way out on how to pass the ball when my back's up against the wall. So just little things like that. And then me being the oldest, whenever I got older, me and her would play in these women's tournaments. And I remember all her friends always coming up to her and was like, oh my gosh, is that Natalie, your oldest daughter? She's getting so good and she's going to get so big. Because I was kind of tall for my age until I was 11 or 12. So everybody thought I was going to be like 6'1" or something, but I'm only 5'10". So it was just funny to hear everybody say that about me.
Was there any pressure as a kid playing with her that you kind of had to live up to her standard?
No, not in my mind. I was always playing volleyball because it was fun and I enjoyed it. And it's something that me and my mom connected on. Of course, as I got older and she wasn't my coach anymore for club, but she was still kind of coaching me, there was kind of a little, I wouldn't say frustration, but it's like when your mom tries to coach you for things, oh, you don't want to listen, even though she's right because she's your mom, sort of that kind of feeling. But there was never any pressure to, oh, I have to be better than my mom or I have to be as good as my mom or anything like that.
Teenagers not listening. That's never happened to any of us. So, growing up, did you play anything else other than volleyball, or was it just a one sport thing for you?
I was pretty good at track. I did 100-meter hurdles. I did the 4x1, 4x2. I did the 4x4 once, would never do that ever again. In middle school, I tried cross country, which was crazy experience, but I'm very glad I did it. I played basketball from, I believe it was 4th grade until 8th grade. I was very good at defense and rebounding and passing, but I could not dribble. And my shot was there sometimes. And then I also played tennis. I was very good at tennis, actually. Kind of wish I still kept up with it. And I played soccer in elementary school. So I was kind of all over the place, but I think I ended up playing volleyball, one, because my mom played it, and it was something that she was able to really help me with. And two, I think I was just better at volleyball than all the other sports I played, and I was the most comfortable playing volleyball, so I decided to stick with that.
You said that cross country was a crazy experience. You mind elaborating on that?
It was just running for a very long time and going through the mud and all these twists and turns. I mean, I can say the highest I ever placed was 7th.
With playing all the other sports, are there any skills from any one of those sports that helped you become a better volleyball player?
I definitely think tennis with the hand to eye coordination, that was a big thing. And I played tennis with my right hand, so I have a feel for my non-dominant hand as opposed to some people who don't use their non-dominant hand at all. And track, I mean, you have to run a lot more in beach volleyball than you do in indoor. So just having that background and really being able to use it. And then I think that's about it. I mean, they probably all correlate in some way that I can't think of, because playing all these sports definitely helps you as you get older. I mean, there's research saying that when you are younger and you play all these sports, you're less prone to injuries because your body's used to moving in a whole bunch of different ways and using a whole bunch of different muscles.
Question here about beach volleyball and indoor volleyball. Aside from the fact that there are obviously fewer players in beach volleyball per team, what are some of the biggest differences for people who might not be as familiar?
In indoor volleyball, you have more control over the ball as opposed to beach, because in indoor you have more people to defend against you. Like in beach, you can't open hand tip with your fingertips. You can't set a serve receive ball with your fingertips because that allows too much control over the ball and it defeats the purpose because there's only 2 people on the other side. And then there's strategy that goes into indoor volleyball, but not nearly as much as beach. Like you have different defensive strategies or even offense trying to get yourself open. Whereas in indoor, I feel like it's more about speed rather than having to play fake, going behind and then going back in front kind of thing.
When your college career ends, do you want to go pro in beach volleyball?
I do. I do want to go pro. I don't really know what that looks like. I'm kind of figuring that out as I go. But yeah, that is something I want to do.
Who are some of your idols, and it doesn't have to be volleyball related, growing up that you had?
I remember watching Destiny Hooker a lot when she was playing. She played at Texas, and then she would go on to play on Team USA in the Olympics. And I just remember she was a great volleyball player and a great athlete. And I was like, oh, I want to play like that and be like her. And then on the beach side, whenever I was younger, Misty May and Carrie Walsh, that's when they won all their Olympic medals. So that's pretty much who I was watching all the time.
Misty May married a former Texas Ranger, a guy named Matt Trainer. There's her useless factoid for the day.
Oh, nice.
When I was in high school and in college, beach volleyball was huge. You had like Karch Karai and Ken Steffes and Randy Stokos on the men's side, but has since kind of, I would say, taken a step back. What do you think on the women's side to grow the game to get people more aware needs to happen?
I think more coverage could be shown for beach volleyball and indoor volleyball. Like, I know this year we took a big step in the Final Four and the NCAA tournament being shown on ESPN, but I think the beach volleyball, like getting more coverage on that in the season, because I know ESPN does a good job of getting the NCAA tournament on TVs, but I think just more exposure to the sport, because volleyball is a very fast growing sport, and I know a lot of young girls want to play, and a lot of young girls are looking for college athletes to coach them. And I think if you are a college athlete, just connecting with your community and getting girls from around your area and running a little camp or something, and then just exposing young girls to volleyball.
Because this kind of sounds like a little bit of being a leader, for you being a senior, how has your role evolved from being an underclassman to now being the leader of your teams, both indoor and at beach?
I would say when I was a freshman, I was still finding myself. I didn't really know myself as a person. And I was very open to a whole bunch of new experiences and learning all these new things. But now as a senior, I know what I want. I know what I have to do. I try to lead by example. I don't really say a lot of words, not because I don't want to. I'm just quiet, I guess. I wouldn't say I'm shy. I'm just quiet, and I don't sometimes know how to say what I want to say so it reaches everybody on my team, because sometimes I can be a little direct, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because whenever I do say stuff, everyone does listen and they understand what I'm saying. But also because sometimes I don't say a lot of stuff, there's speculation for the stuff I didn't say, if that makes sense. And I would say now I'm just more experienced in life, and I have gone through stuff that people should never go through at their young age. So I have a lot of life experience, and I really tried to share that with my teammates.
Speaking of the life experience and going through things, would you mind kind of elaborating a little bit more on that?
I lost my dad in a car accident in 2017, and it was just a very unexpected thing that happened to my family. He was a public figure, so people knew him, and it was hard because it was on the news and people were saying all these things. Like, my mom took everyone's phones away. We weren't allowed to watch TV. We could only use streaming services that didn't have ads at the time. It was just very hard. Like, I would go to school and I would feel like people are staring at me, like they want to say something, but they wouldn't. Or people would say they're sorry for my loss, but after hearing that so many times, it kind of got redundant. Even though I always appreciated they would say that, but it was just a lot. And I've never had to deal with emotions of sadness, anger, depression. And my parents got divorced whenever I was 10. So they weren't together, but they were friends. They knew that they would have to be cordial with each other because they were family. So them not being together and going through that anger and sadness, that was totally different from realizing the fact that I would never see my dad again. And when I was going through my depression, I took a break from volleyball because it was in November and my club season started late December, early January. So from the end of November all the way till then, I took a break from everything. I was in online school and I wasn't really playing volleyball. And then when the season came around and I was playing volleyball, I realized that my mind wasn't thinking about my dad and I wasn't thinking about all the emotions that I was feeling. So I told my mom, like, I just want to go to as many lessons as I can just to get my mind off of what happened. And that was one way that I dealt with my dad's death. I didn't know how to express my emotions to my therapist. And since then, I have definitely learned a lot about my emotions and my emotional intelligence has gone up. But just having that experience happen shook my whole world. And then, unfortunately, a year later, my older half brother, he also passed away because it was just a lot for him. And my dad's death really affected him. And it was just a lot. I mean, even though he was my half brother and I didn't really see him that much, he was in Ohio. He would still come down every summer when we were younger, and I have vivid memories of us hanging out and like riding four-wheelers and doing all this stuff together. So it was just a lot of loss in those 2 years.
You mentioned a little of getting back into volleyball. How important, when anyone is going through a tragedy, is the art of distraction to take your mind off of what's going on?
I definitely do think distraction can be a tool you can use, but it is very easy to abuse because at the end of the day, you're going to have to face what's going on in your life and you're going to have to accept it and find a way to move on. So I will say that distraction is good, but it shouldn't be the only way that you are moving on from something that's very stressful for you.
What advice do you have for people of any age that are going through a similar trauma that you had to help them come to terms with it and try to find a way to at least somewhat move on?
It's hard because there's some days where I feel like I have accepted and moved on from my dad's death, but then there's some days where I'm like, I'm spiraling and I'm sad all over again. It's like he just passed away yesterday. So there really isn't a good answer other than to just celebrate the life that they did have, celebrate the time that you did have with them, celebrate all little things that made them happy, and do things that made them happy.
You said celebrate their life, so I want to ask you, growing up away from the athletic realm, what's the favorite memory you have with your dad?
We would go to the movies pretty much every weekend. I mean, I feel like the movies are a lot better back then, and there was a lot of new stuff coming out all the time. And we would have daddy daughter dates. So he would pick me up from school. We would go straight to the movie theater, or me and him would go golfing. And then with me and my siblings, he would take all of us to Dave and Buster's a lot. And we would also go to Chili's and get the chocolate molten cake. So those are the big things that stood out to me because everybody does look at him as a football player, which is something that he was, but he was also a father to four amazing kids. We all just honor him in different ways.
So I love Dave and Buster's. What's the coolest thing you won there?
Honestly, I don't remember. I remember playing games and giving my card to my siblings because they wouldn't win that many tickets. So I would just give my card to them and they would get something.
Your dad, obviously football player, mom played volleyball, you've got siblings. How competitive is the Glenn family?
Ooh, you do not want to be at my house for family game nights. Sequence, I don't know if you know what that game is. That's probably our favorite game to play. But even when we're in the pool and we set up a net and we're playing pool volleyball, even that gets really competitive. And then there's my brother who is this muscle ball of a human, and he is so strong, and he's the only boy in the family. So playing volleyball with him is fun because he actually knows how to play volleyball, but he is just so athletic, and he is probably the most competitive out of all of us. I don't know if it's because we're his sisters or because he's playing against girls, but he takes it to a whole nother level. And even if we're in the backyard and we're playing football, or he's running routes, or I'm running routes and he has to defend, it's this whole crazy competitive experience. And we end up yelling at each other, but it's just fun, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Is having that experience something that's made you, even though you're older than he is, a better athlete?
I do think I am very, very competitive. In practice, we do drills that aren't scored, like they're kind of just reps thing, but I'm taking it very serious. And in my mind, I'm competing with the person in front of me and the person behind me. I mean, it's a good and a bad thing because sometimes I feel like I don't need to be doing that, but that's just automatically where my mind goes. But whenever I am competing in a game environment that's like win or lose, I'm always giving my best effort to win.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's the best athlete in the family?
I would say probably my brother. But if I were to say who is the laziest, my brother.
I have a feeling you're going to hear about that when you come back home.
Probably. But he already knows it, so it's fine.
I just love hearing how competitive you are with your family because I'm an only kid, so I was competitive with my mom. Like we would play games like Trivial Pursuit or cards, and it was whoever lost was going to be very upset the rest of the day.
Even my boyfriend, he comes from a big family. He's the third kid out of four. So me and him, we can get pretty competitive as well.
How did you and your boyfriend initially meet?
We transferred to Long Beach the same summer, and we kind of just crossed paths at a time when we both needed each other. And here we are 2.5 years later.
So are there wedding bells in the future?
Yes, 100%.
Right now, you're in season with beach volleyball. What's the adjustment process going immediately from indoor to beach?
Since we didn't make it to the NCAA tournament for indoor, I had an extra month to rest. So during that month, I don't do anything because starting all those matches and playing a lot of sets, most of the time 5-set matches, was just a lot on my body, and I just needed a complete break. No lifting, no touching a volleyball, even if it's up and down in my backyard, like whole break away from volleyball. And then towards the end of December, our report date, it was January 15th. So I had the whole month of December, and then the first half of January was when I slowly started ramping things up, because since I did take a month off, my body wasn't used to the workouts and stuff. So I was getting very sore, but I wanted to get that out of the way before our report date. Transitioning to beach volleyball, conditioning is the biggest thing. Like if you want to play beach volleyball, you have to be conditioned, because volleyball and indoor and beach, the technical things might be a little different, and it might take more strategy and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you are passing a ball, you're serving a ball, you're setting a ball, and you're hitting a ball. You already know how to do all that stuff. So just really getting my conditioning on par with my teammates, which was really hard coming from doing nothing. That was probably the hardest part. And then getting a feel for the ball again, because the indoor ball, obviously playing outside, there's different factors. There's the sun, there's rain, there's wind, and just getting used to all that stuff again. It just takes time, but you can do it.
Well, that's an interesting thing that I probably should have thought about, and I never really have. But how do you end up playing in the rain with the wind, the glare from the sun? How do you make that adjustment, especially mid-match where something can be fine and then the next minute you have a 25-mile-an-hour wind?
We call it wind ball. So you have a good side and a bad side. The good side is usually when the wind is facing you, like north and south. Or if you're on the beach, there's ocean side and strand side. And the ocean side is the bad side to receive from, but it's the good side to hit too. So again, there's so many strategies that go into volleyball. Even when it's really sunny, like if you're playing at 12 or something, one side might have a bad sun glare and one side doesn't. So you choose a side that doesn't have the bad sun glare. So just like little things like that are important too.
I know in some beach volleyball, there are partnerships, which is no different than, let's say, figure skating, tennis, etc. How important is it to get that camaraderie with your partner so you can communicate sometimes directly if you need to during a match?
My beach coach almost says it's just a relationship, and it's a very important relationship because it is only you two against two other people. And in beach volleyball, you can't get coaching unless you guys are switching sides. So it really is just how well you guys gel and communicate versus the other team.
How hard is it to find the right partner? Because I imagine not every person that an athlete plays with in beach volleyball tends to work out.
Well, in the college volleyball world, you only have the people on your team to select from. So, I mean, I've had a different partner every year. My coach has just always thought that I should play with somebody else, or in the fall, you really test out those partnerships. But in the fall, since I'm an indoor, I don't get that time. So I kind of just get thrown into a partnership and then just make it work, I guess.
When it comes to indoor, is there a favorite match that you have that you look back on that makes you smile?
For indoor, it would probably be in club. And my team and I, we had finally won a national championship. And I had the game winning kill against Mad Frog when I was playing for TAV. And it was this full circle moment because I originally started playing at Mad Frog. And then me and one of my close teammates from Mad Frog, we both left TAV at the same time. And then just to play them in the championship to finally win a national title was kind of funny.
What was it like to have the game-winning kill?
It was great, kind of surreal. It was the season that my dad had just passed in November, so there was a lot of emotion after we won and hugging my mom and just wishing my dad was there to see it and all that stuff.
And for beach, what's a match that sticks out for you?
I would probably say my first ever collegiate game because I hadn't played beach volleyball in, I believe it was 2 years. And I made it into the starting lineup at the fives pair. And I was playing with this defender who had transferred from UCLA to get her master's. And it was funny because it was raining. And I was like, great, I came to California to leave the rain, and it's raining all season. And we were playing USC, which is the number one team at the time. And even though we lost the duel as a whole, I was able to win my game. So after that game, I was like, oh, I can actually do this. And I'm pretty good at this.
And having a partner from UCLA who might not like USC probably helped too.
Yeah, that was a big thing too.
What was it like to get that confidence of, even though your team lost, you had won with your partnership? What was it like to know I can still do this?
It was just refreshing because at that time I was still finding my love for the game again, and I had a lot of self-doubt and my confidence was not where it was before I went into college. Winning that game, even though my team had lost, just gave me a big confidence boost, and I really enjoyed playing beach volleyball.
Away from the court, what are some of the things you like to do?
I still like to go to the movies. I have 2 cats and a dog, and they keep me on my toes, and I love going to the beach, sitting out on the beach and looking at the ocean and hearing the waves. I like to go on bike rides, just enjoy nature, love being outside. I watch a lot of TV shows. I mean, I'm a homebody. I don't really enjoy leaving my house unless it's to go to the beach or to go on a walk.
When it comes to movies and TV, what are some of the shows you like to watch?
I like to watch a lot of the Rush Hour movies because those are some movies that my dad used to watch all the time. I watch a lot of Marvel movies, even though they're kind of bad now. So I like to watch the older ones. I watch a lot of reality TV. I personally think the drama is very funny because it's like, how are there real people doing all this stuff? And then it's broadcasted to everyone to watch. And that's about it.
You keep up with the Kardashians?
So that's what I don't watch. Oh, and I do watch Abbott Elementary too. That's one of my favorite shows to watch right now.
I have not seen Abbott Elementary, but I have a couple of friends that are on me to watch it. So sell me on it. Why should I watch it?
It's funny, it's relatable, it's kind of this new gen take, but in my opinion, I think it's funny. And I can always get a good laugh out of it. And there's good storylines throughout the show, so it's not this new thing every episode.
Are you a sitcom fan in general?
I wouldn't say so, no. That's probably the only one that I do watch.
You mentioned that you're a fan of the outdoors a little bit, the beach. Did that all come from volleyball, or was there something growing up, like a trip to the beach or a trip with your family somewhere that kind of led to your love of that?
I actually think it was after my dad had passed, because I always felt everyone was trying to check in on me, which I do appreciate, but it was just getting overwhelming, and setting my phone down and just going outside into my backyard, staring at the sky or staring at the trees, brushing the wind, or watching my dog just run back and forth without a thought in her mind kind of just helped me slow the world down a bit. So I think that's just something I do out of habit now.
How important is getting that quiet time for you every day?
I would say it's very important. Most of my friends, they know I keep to myself, like not in a bad way. I just really value my alone time because that's the way that I recharge. And that's the way I'm able to really figure out what I want if I'm in a situation or how I would go about this conversation. It just really gives me time to think. And I think everybody should find something that has that same effect on them, even if it's not being outside.
Speaking of getting that time to think and about what you want, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully, playing pro beach volleyball still, maybe, or maybe retired, and then having kids, married. Job wise, maybe sports management or sports marketing, something in the sports world. So I definitely want to stay in that realm for my job.
Natalie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the I Play 2 podcast today and talking about your family getting past your father's death. Talked about your volleyball career, both indoor and on the beach. Thank you so much. Take care. Best of luck the rest of the season and wherever your volleyball career takes you. Take care.
Thank you, Rob. You too. I'm glad I was able to share my story and my perspective, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.